All right, so I find myself constantly explaining to people what this misleading term full coverage means when we're talking about automobile insurance. People come to me, they say, "Oh, Attorney Burns, I have full coverage. I'm covered for anything and everything, no matter what happens." And what they don't understand is that full coverage only relates to, as it's used at least here in Connecticut, only relates to damage to your own vehicle. In other words, if I have an accident in my car, whether it's my fault or it's not my fault, if I have this so-called full coverage, my insurance will pay for me to repair my car or give me enough money to buy a similar car if the car is totaled, less the deductible. That's called collision coverage. That's the technical term. And if my car is damaged in a non-accident, if a tree falls on it, or if it's in a flood, my insurance will pay for me to repair my vehicle, or if the vehicle is totaled, they will give me enough money to buy a similar vehicle. That's called comprehensive. So full coverage is collision and comprehensive. It has nothing to do with if you hit someone and you put them in a wheelchair, your insurance company is going to pay them the entire money, all of their damages. That depends on the limits of liability. And here in Connecticut, the vast majority of people buy the absolute minimum, and the minimum coverage is what we call 2550, which means it pays a maximum of $25,000 per injured person, up to $50,000 per accident. So if you hit someone, you put them in a wheelchair, your insurance will pay $25,000. Their case is worth $1 million, and the insurance company says, "What? You want more money? Go get it from Phil," because he only bought $25,000 worth of coverage. If you hit a vehicle and you put 3 or 10 people in a wheelchair, the insurance company with a minimum policy says, "Here's $50,000. Take it, divide it amongst yourselves." And their cases are worth $1 million each. And they say, "You want more money? Go get it from Phil. He only bought a $25.50 minimum policy." A lot of people don't realize that it doesn't cost very much more. So a 50-25 policy costs you about $800 to $1,200 a year. It only costs an extra $300 or $400 maybe to get a 50-100 policy, and maybe only another $100 or $200 to get a 100-300 policy, and maybe only another $100 to get a 500-500 policy. So the more you buy, the cheaper it is. And that's good if you put someone else in a wheelchair, but it's also extremely important for the following reason. If someone else hits me and they put me in a wheelchair and they only have $25,000 worth of coverage, if I have more than $25,000 included in that liability, 2550 liability coverage, is something called uninsured and underinsured coverage, which means that if he hits me, he puts me in a wheelchair, he only has $25,000 worth of coverage, but I have $100,000 worth of coverage, my insurance will contribute another $75,000 to get it up to $100,000. If I have $1 million worth of insurance, his insurance pays the first $25,000, and then my insurance pays the rest up to $1 million. So it does not pay to be cheap on insurance. And please do not be fooled by the term full insurance. It doesn't mean you're covered for everything no matter what happens. Full coverage only refers to damage to your vehicle. And if your insurance pays you the money, less the deductible, and the accident is not your fault, then your insurance will go after the other guy's insurance and get themselves reimbursed. Your insurance will get reimbursed from the other guy's insurance, and your insurance will get that insurance to pay you the deductible. And that usually takes a few weeks to a few months. So full coverage does not mean you're covered by everything, and don't go cheap on insurance because it could affect you in a lot of different ways that are not good.